What's up, everybody? This is Raiders, Celtics, and everything else. It's my first episode. Just a guy from Texas, born in Puerto Rico, family from Puerto Rico, grew up in South Texas. I know you're thinking, why is this guy a Celtics fan and a Raider fan? Makes no sense. Well, grew up, got into sports maybe around middle school. Um, at first I was like just being fan of what my friends were a fan of, which down here in Texas, Cowboys, Spurs. Until one day I was like, I have no family cool story of my dad being a fan of a team. My dad didn't really care about sports. Uh, so I have no real connection to this other than I feel like I'm just being, a follower and I have no real opinion. So one day I decided, hey, let me just watch, some games, and just kind of make choose my own team. Okay, so my two favorite sports has always been to either watch or play has been football and basketball. So I think it was around the same year. I landed on both of them. I think around the same year. My dates might be off, but I started watching football. Happened to be that year the Raiders made it to the Super Bowl. That whole season, they kept winning. I was like, this team looks cool. The colors are cool. Love the logo. Love the attitude. They were winning. So I was kind of technically a bandwagon fan of the Raiders when they started. So that was my journey to the Raiders. I was like, okay, they're good. They're cool. And then and the mystique and all that. And then basketball, I was like, you know what? Again, same thing. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna follow the Spurs just because everybody else around me does. Let me watch basketball. Well, aside from the Spurs, people like Kobe and the big name stars. I was like, you know what? I also don't want to do that. Let me find something in between. Some guy, a guy that's a star, but maybe not as, just as famous or talked about as Kobe or the other big name, Shaq or whatever. And I landed on Pierce. I kept just, I was like, this dude is a baller. This dude is a baller. Like, he competes at that level with those big names, but he's not that big name. He's not as big as a Kobe, as big as can't even name at the top of my head that year, those years that year when I started playing, but I mean watching. Aside from Kobe, that's I was the biggest name. So, but he would compete against him. It felt like every game I saw, he always gave them a chance. It always felt like, even when they were a terrible team, had terrible rosters, he just always gave them a chance. He was clutch, feared nobody, and I was like, heck yeah. I didn't care about where they're from. And actually, when I first started becoming a fan of Celtics, I had no clue they were had the most championships in history. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that. No, I didn't have a family member teach me, the history about teams and all that. I was learning this on my own. So again, cities have nothing to do with it. Location. It was about sometimes a player, sometimes a team. The Raiders was more of a team. The team was good. That was a bandwagon. Celtics, that was definitely a player thing. I was like, Pierce, he's cool, kind of underrated, kind of like a star. So I rocked with it, man. And I was like, you know what? And I've never, wavered. It got so bad being a Raider fan, and most guys growing up is like, you stick to one team, and that's kind of a thing in bro code to just kind of stick to one team. But it got so bad for the Raiders that at one point, one of my friends was like, "No one's gonna judge you, man. If you choose a different team, man. The Raiders, they've been bad, man." And I said, "No, man." And here I am, still struggling. Um, they've had their best offseason, I think, in maybe over 15 years. But we'll get into the Raiders, and I love talking about the Raiders another day. Right now, we got to talk about, and that's why I'm wearing the jersey. We got to talk about the Celtics. Celtics, Jaylen Brown. Oof. If you follow my Twitter page, I've been, I have a lot of things to say about him. I gotta be real, like he's a damn good player. So don't get me wrong. I have been harsh at times, maybe a little over the top, but I also gotta admit, he's a really great player. I'm not here to say he can't play. He's not great. Um, but there's levels, and really you won't know until you really watch the Celtics play consistently. If you watch a lot of their games, from the outside looking in, I could see why some people would say, you know what, Jaylen Brown is as good or is better than Tatum. You'd only be able to say that if you saw a few games, you saw highlights. But if you're really a fan that paid attention to the beginning and all the way up to the end of the game, there's no chance you'd say Jaylen Brown is at Tatum's level or definitely not even and better. Getting to the rim, yeah, yeah, he probably has sort of surpassed Tatum there. But basketball's so much more. Okay, basketball's so much more than that. IQ, chemistry, defense, and I guess growing up, being a Celtics fan for so long, you do kind of become, and I understand the argument of ring culture, and that's where I'm trying to not be too much of that, but at the same time, it's like you get a championship window, and you gotta take advantage. At this point, I still believe. I mean, although they won a championship together in 2024, they should have won at minimum one more. And I've always believed that should have either been the bubble. The bubble they should have won, I think. I mean, they lost. I'm not making excuses for that. But I think that year they had a team to do it. And then definitely against the Warriors. You're winning the series, you're up in the series, and you lose it. Okay, so at minimum, they should have had two. Right now, where we're at, right now, in today's day, what is it, June 26th? If they keep the team the way it is, they're not winning it. Okay, they're not winning a title this year. I'm sorry. Even if you fix the relationship with Jaylen, if you smooth things over, you're friendly. No, his game with Tatum's game, they're not winning another one. Okay, I'm happy that they won one. It's way too hard, and it's annoying and frustrating because even a lot of Celtics fans a lot of them keep. I mean, yes, he's great. Again, don't get me wrong. He's not some scrub. He's not some scrub. He's a great player. But we're at the point where how many years have they been? They've been together at least 7 years. And I see people, and not just fans, I see media personalities, reporters, sometimes saying stuff like they'll figure it out. We're talking about 7 years. There's been way too much time to figure it out. I mean, and they did kind of, with that title again. Like, I'm not discrediting that. Like, can't be too selfish, but their games, it's been too complicated to make that work. It's been too complicated, and it goes to he wants to be number one, but he's not better than Tatum. Like, he's not better than Tatum, and actually, Tatum, I feel just from body language, just from what we see. I don't know these guys. I never probably will talk to these guys. I think Tatum holds back a lot. Because Tatum is a nice guy from what it looks, right? I mean, I don't know. He might be horrible in real life. But at least basketball team-wise, On the court, he holds back. He's a team first guy. In fact, this year, I mean, yeah, he was coming off injury, but lately you could tell he's really driving towards that LeBron style where he's like really a pass heavy. Yeah, he's gonna score, but and I selfishly, right? I'm rocking his jersey. I feel like we haven't even seen Tatum be like head to a season, be like, I'm gonna be the dominant player this team needs. Now he knows he's great, and he even claimed in that clip, top five with a haircut. But still, once he gets on the court, I feel like he pushes his ego aside, which in a way that's good. But Jaylen Brown being there, it just doesn't allow him to really. I was saying this the other day to someone. I truly believe if Jason Tatum gets that opportunity, he can average 35 points. Easily average 35 points a game. So that's where I'm coming from. I just feel like we haven't been able to see the best of Tatum. So, and I think the best of Tatum is the best for the Celtics. And the best of Jaylen Brown, we saw it. I mean, I'm not blaming him only for us losing. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Again, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be too harsh. But I could be wrong. Hey, I could be wrong. But I really feel strongly that the best of Brown is not the best for the Celtics. The best of Tatum is definitely the best for the Celtics because Tatum empowers people. How many people has he? I feel like he helped get contracts. Grant Williams, Javonte Green, so many people. Cornette. He's easy to play with. I do not think. You look on this year, yes, Jaylen Brown spread the ball a little bit more because he had to. He had no other choice. I just don't feel like he'd be able to do that for players. Great players do that. Great players can lift people's games up. Tatum does that. All right, so that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at mentally, like my assessment of Brown. I think great player, think he needs to leave. So where is he going to go? I mean, I have no sources. All I have is gut feelings. All I can do is read tea leaves, try to put things together. My tea leaves right now are that, from what I see, I mean, my conclusion is he's going to get traded. Now, us as fans, as me, desperate for like a move. Definitely, part of me wants a move right now, but the negative on that is like we also don't want to just get whatever. So I think he's definitely getting traded. Shams today just said, what Celtics are expecting. I feel like once those things start coming out, it's happening. Now, unfortunately, I think his trade value has been getting lower because the Giannis thing didn't work out. And now we look obviously a little bit more desperate to let him go. So that's why I'm a huge advocate for trading a player before you get to a point where you have to trade a player. So I know I don't want to talk too much about the Raiders today. There will be a bunch of times where I will. Something that's always going to sting and hurt me, upset me is, we got my Mendoza jersey. When Carr was with the Raiders, right? It's similar to that, okay? Totally different positions, totally different sports. But similar in the sense that we had a guy that he was good. Sometimes great. But he himself was not taking you anywhere. Both guys have gotten contract extensions, so we're not even arguing about money or the team being fair to compensate them. So they've had the money. They've had the resources. You get to a point where you take too long to trade someone, you get nothing. That's what happened with the Raiders, right? After 9 years, one extraordinary season where they went 12-4 and he gets hurt. Another one where they made wild card and they lose on a terrible interception. Could have traded Carr. Could have, should have, would have traded Carr. Now you lay your emotions. It's kind of interesting that there's a big there's a discourse about team loyalty and then respecting your players. And I'm like a huge middle ground for that. I love player empowerment. And I love that players are able to voice things more, like that they want to get traded more. Sometimes they overdo it. But I like that we're not at the age anymore where it back then it felt like, well, first of all, that wasn't even a thing. You weren't hearing what players wanted. Teams weren't, that was not even a thing. There was not even a chance. It was very rare, probably only for a few players that had that power, like Jordan or just a few players that could basically walk down to the office and say, "Well, I'm not leaving," or actually the other way around. "Oh, I need you to trade me." I'm glad that it's not rare anymore for players to be able to have strong opinions and all that, but we get to a point where teams, man, is sometimes I'm at the point where these two teams that I like, we've had instances where the team is too loyal. Okay, the Raiders were too loyal to Carr. They got nothing. Not even. We're talking about nothing. You know how bad that is? We complain sometimes about trades where a guy, dang, the team got fleeced. They traded him just for that. That's all they got. Raiders got nothing. I don't think people grasp that. I mean, it's almost like people talk worse about a bad return than they talk about a no return. Raiders got nothing. Okay, they got nothing. So I'm upset about that. I'm still upset about that. That's years ago. I feel like we could have gotten something at minimum. What, third round pick, second round pick? Okay, here I am with Jalen now. Jalen, you gotta trade him. There's no if. There's no let's fix. You have to trade him. Now, I hated what he said. And the timing of what he said. That's where player empowerment is a little bit too much, okay, on their side. You cannot say that. I'm sorry. I'm glad player empowerment. He's a great player. He's done a lot for the Celtics. He did a lot for the community. He did a lot for others. Dude, you just lost. You just blew a 3-1 lead. You cannot, even if it was, or even if I'm sure he has a better explanation. Save that for later, at least wait a little bit, or really explain it in a way that doesn't sound selfish. At this point, I feel like no matter how he tries to explain it, though, now, because it happened right after they lost, that it doesn't matter. I just, you blew a 3-1 lead to a team the Celtics have always dominated the Sixers, and they were dominating them again. I mean, you're talking about a team that got swept in the next round. Your favorite team, just for what? For likes and streams. And then now you're mad. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is annoying. I get it. But you're mad that he called you out on that. You're making over $300 million. Like, you got a huge fan base of the Celtics. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And people are downplaying that. I think some fans, I think some people are downplaying it. The ones that are I mean, I get it. We don't have to be raised about it. We don't have to lose sleep over it. But you cannot downplay that, any player that says that, you look horrible doing that. So, okay, that's one thing. On top of what I was saying earlier about his game, his style, I just feel like it's not leading the Celtics to where they need to be. So you add those two things. His game, what it does for the Celtics, not good enough. What he said, it showed you what his thought process is, how he approaches it. That's not good enough. let Tatum, I'm just saying, let Tatum be the clear number one. Hope he's healthy. Build around that. It would be the first time in his career he wouldn't have to look over his shoulder and say, oh man, I got to worry about him. Like, is he happy? Is he doing good? It's kind of like when a team loses that number one receiver that needs and always demands the ball. Sometimes teams are like, oh, what are they going to do? How are they going to look without Megatron? Well, if you remember when Megatron stopped playing with the Lions, Matthew Stafford started actually showing more of his ability because he didn't have that stress no more. Now, I'm not saying Calvin Johnson held them back. Calvin Johnson was amazing. Same thing with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is a great player, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he didn't help the Celtics. I'm just saying I think he definitely holds Tatum back. And I want to see, personally, I want to see Tatum lead this team without having to worry about that. So that's where I'm at. Let me see, gut feeling. Where is he going to go? I had thought Atlanta because that's where he was from. That would make a lot of sense. They're doing good. They're developing into a team. They need a clear one guy, but what are we going to get in return, right? That team, I don't know. It's that would be a good team for him, and for depending on what they'd offer. I just don't think they'd offer a lot. I think it comes down to him, Atlanta, and the Blazers. I think Blazers have the most to offer as far as draft compensation, and with all the trades that have already happened via players, I don't really think there's a lot of players to trade anymore that are their teams are open to trading. So I think this is gonna end up being like a trade for draft compensation. So I think the Blazers make the most sense. He'd definitely be able to do, what he's been wanting to do, be the clear guy there. And I think the Celtics will get a haul there. So hope we get that trade soon for all parties involved. Go Celtics, go Raiders. I can't wait for training camp so I can dive in, get way too excited about Mendoza every single play he makes and already start overthinking about how we're going to win every single game. Have a great day. It's always going to be Raiders, Celtics, and everything else.